After the attack of the Black Sea Fleet on Sevastopol, Russia announced that it would replace Ukraine in the world market in the supply of grain. And first of all, it concerns the countries of Africa. That is, not Ukrainian agricultural products, but Russian ones will be supplied to developing countries. Plus, attacks on the Ukrainian infrastructure intensified in the morning. And was the attack on the Black Sea Fleet worth it? This was followed by a statement by Joe Biden that the decision of Russia supposedly increased the growth of hunger in the world, but the Ministry of Agriculture said that in order to avoid a humanitarian catastrophe, Russia is ready to completely replace Ukrainian grain. And now it turns out that Zelensky was worried in vain that Algeria, Egypt, Yemen, Bangladesh and Vietnam could suffer from another aggravation in the grain deal.
От буквально сьогодні більше 2 мільйонів тонн продовольства стоять в морі. Це означає, що для більш ніж 7 мільйонів споживачів реально погіршився доступ до продовольства. Алжир, Єгипет, Ємен, Бангладеш, В'єтнам, інші. Дуже різні країни з різних частин світу, але вони всі однаково можуть бути дестабілізовані через це російське рішення заблокувати експорт.
After all, when he was filming this video, he did not yet know that Moscow would deliver up to 500,000 tons of grain to the poorest countries in the next 4 months. Minister Dmitry Patrushev announced free grain deliveries to developing countries. He also added that the grain deal, unfortunately, not only did not solve the problems of countries in need, but also exacerbated them. That is, no matter how worried Europe is about the children of Africa, food was practically not supplied there anyway. And a good half of the goods under the grain scheme went to developed countries. So, despite the great concern for the starving children of Africa, Somalia, Ethiopia, Sudan and Afghanistan received only about 3% of agricultural products. But Zelensky continues to say that without Ukrainian grain, African countries are starving. This is the situation. All European leaders began to shout at the top of their voices that by blocking Ukrainian ships with grain, Russia would starve African countries. And then bam, Moscow declares that it will supply grain there, and even free of charge for several months. Well, you know, Europe didn't quite agree. Why would they send grain to Africa for free if it would worsen the economic and food situation in Western countries? Especially if this should add additional interest to inflation in the European Union and, as a result, weaken the euro at the auction, since the lion's share of grain exported from Ukraine went to Western Europe. In general, it turned out to be a big inconsistency. And now Russia seems to have nothing to reproach, since Russia said that it would not leave Africa without bread, while itself was left without cheap grain. Indeed, under the pretext of ending hunger in the world, completely different issues were resolved.